I'll take questions if there are any, or whatever you want to know about the disease. I've tried and covered counseling predominantly, and diagnosis, and treatment, yes. I knew Montelukast is going to come up, but if there is any other treatment related, yes. See, nebulization is when you have acute severe asthma. Nebulizer along with MDI spacer with a salbutamol is equal. So if you're going to use this, your parents will have that much faith on the MDI spacer. If you need to use the nebulizer and if your child has the PaO2 is less than 93%, then yes, use it with oxygen. So to come back to your question, no, it does not mean nebulization always needs to be used with oxygen. You can use it otherwise, but try and not misuse it. You know? Pardon me? Inhaled steroids, there are some colleagues who prefer fluticasone, but my preference is budesonide because it's been in the market for a very, very, very long time and it is tried and tested. When cyclosinide came, there was tremendous amount of excitement that it's a pro-drug, it will have no side effect, it's once a day, but somehow it just did not do well with children. I put children in control and on budesonide, but they didn't do too well. So I prefer budesonide because if budesonide is not okay, then I use budesonide and formoterol. But those of you who are happy with fluticasone, no harm in using that. The other reason that I use budesonide is that you have 200, you have 100, and budesonide is the only inhaled steroid besides cyclosinide, which is not used in pediatrics, which can be used OD. So when I am finally tapered down to the least, it is 100 once a day, which you cannot do with fluticasone.
Dietary advice to the bronchial asthma patients?
I tell them this, that you can give everything to your child. I say that there are certain groups like nuts, seafood, milk, chocolate, colorant, preservative, Ajinomoto. If it's a young adolescent, sparkling wine, beer, which can trigger an attack. But it is known that amongst the asthmatic, only 4% have food allergy. So it is a very, very small group. So I tell the mother, from my side, no restriction. It's your child. If you find that there is something which is giving, breathlessness or a cough again and again, then yes, stop it. Sometimes it can be coincidence. So I said, if you think it is a coincidence when your child is well, give it once again and see is this happening. Here, since you asked this question, I want to say sometimes they say citrus fruit, banana. They cause no trigger. There is a thing called oral allergy syndrome. It causes irritation in the throat because there is cross allergen with pollen. Banana has cross allergen with pollen. So these children who are sensitive to pollen, and pollen is a trigger for them, with banana, they can have this irritation in the throat. So he can do this, but not breathlessness. So it is like that no blanket treatment. They can take everything.
What is your advice for allowing the children to sleep in air-conditioned room?
Air conditioner per se is not bad. Why is air conditioner bad? Is that fungus is a trigger. Again, we've done study which it has shown that children who are not doing well, there's a damp patch in the house. So if the AC filter is not cleaned, that is what is bad. AC is not bad, but the draught of air, so I would say the child can be in the AC, but if it's a window AC, then see that the child is not right there. The child is a little away from the vent. But otherwise, AC is no problem. It has to be a well-maintained AC.
Those for very young children with fluticasone. You said 200 budesonide for budesonide is told
400 budesonide is permissible. It's the moderate dose. 800 is the high dose. 400 budesonide you can use. Which age? You also tell me the age.
less than 3 years.
Less than 3 years, then I would say budesonide. Moderate persistent, 200 BD, that's 400. And mild persistent, you can use 100 BD.
For fluticasone,
For fluticasone, it is half the dose. How long is a brilliant question. They all ask me, how long? So, I buy time of 1.5 years. Why so? Is that they say every 3 months you can bring it down. You know? So, if it is every 3 months and after we've started, we are getting in, it's only after 6 months that we will do our first bringing down. So 6, 3, 1. So if I do 1.5 years, they will definitely do it for 1 year. There are children in my clinic whom I have not been able to take off inhalers. They have been with me for 14 years and each time I have tried to get him down, he's bounced back. So there's this boy who was earlier, that time there was no Foracort and he was on salmeterol and fluticasone. And from salmeterol, fluticasone, when I got him down to fluticasone, he went into, that is why the level of control is important. Well controlled, step down. Partially controlled, follow in the same for some time and find why partially controlled. Uncontrolled, step up. So they, on an average, if you ask me, on an average, it is anything between 1 year to 1.5 years. So of the number of asthmatics who are with me, I would say 90% 1.5 years. Another 5%, 5, 7 years. But 5% whom I have not been able to take off. They are on it for years. And they've accepted because parents have seen dropping on the peak flow. They're obviously grown-up children who can do their lung function, that they are dropping. So they say, it's okay, we'll continue. It's doing no harm. At least he can participate in games and play, happy during Holi, Diwali and all that. So that's the thing. Zero stat is not to be used anymore. They should be actually taking it off from the market because it has no valve. So you definitely need a valved spacer. If you ask me, is there much difference between zero-stat VT and zero-stat V? I would say psychologically for the mother because she can see the drug going. That is the only advantage. I will also tell you the other advantage. You know why this was conceptualized? This spacer in the making costs so much money that they make no profit from this. That zero-stat V gives them profit, not this. Mr. Hamid, who owns Cipla, happened to visit me once because he was just curious about me. So he says, I am going to get a transparent spacer because one doctor in Calcutta said that a chest physician, that he had a very bad asthmatic, and he says that this one had an acute severe asthma attack at night, and he kept using his Asthaline inhaler, desperately. But he just couldn't figure out that nothing is coming. It was an empty canister, and that patient died. So the parent said, the wife said that if only I could make out, he had put it there and he was pressing it, that nothing is coming out. That is how this took its birth. It took about 2-3 years of R&D to get this spacer. But zero-stat spacer, please, please, please do not prescribe. Many of the children who come to me by a talented pediatrician who have put them on the right therapy just by changing from zero stat to zero stat VT, we have got results. Because the drug, like I said, that if the valve is very important, if you are throwing the air back, if you do this, you'll see it's humidified. You're making them all more than 5 micron. Nothing is reaching down. So this is all evolution. You know, one might say, why did they do it then? Well, there were the times when there was no non-static spacer. So they brought that. Then they got zero stat V. And so if you have to choose a spacer, you choose one with the valve. There is a little, it drops. So when we are using just a spacer and a thing, it's about 30%. With the mask, it's about anything between 20 to 25%. So the moment the child is of the age when he can do it without the mask, take it off the mask. So beyond 3 years, keep trying without the mask. Sometimes they may not be very cooperative in the clinic. So you explain it to the mom and the dad that it would now be ideal to use it without the mask. Here he is getting nervous. You know, they put it in the mouth and they keep their mouth open. So it's all leaking out. So you explain to the mother, take a placebo and do it yourself and say, this is the way I want the child to do. So teach the child at home. And so after 2-3 attempts, they do it. So yes, the mask is not to be used once the child can do without the spacer. And those of you who may be seeing even adults with asthma, even adults should be prescribed spacer. Again, a very good question. The answer is no. We've had very little ones, so please sit down. You know, early ones, it's a challenge to diagnose because we don't know, is it asthma or isn't it asthma? So, you know, say the youngest that I have had in my thing is this 5-month-old baby who I said had 3 PICU admissions, and they had done extensive investigation. You know, like the echo was done, that could it be a congenital thing, the SPECT studies were done, you know, they had also done the 24 hours pH monitoring, everything ruled out, but nobody wanted to label. So if you see this child is improving with your inhaled corticosteroids, then this is an asthmatic. So no age. These would be called early onset you know, presenters of asthma. So I would say early onset asthmatics, and if you get a family history or a history of atopy or an allergic or a atopic dermatitis in this child, label it as asthma. Steroids inhalers or oral has no role really. I mean, how will it help? It's not going to help at all. If the child has family history of atopy, and if you're thinking it's asthma, you know, that this could actually, you thinking, could it be asthma, could it be V's-associated lower respiratory tract infection, you can give it. If it's an asthmatic, you will have a good response. But Worley doesn't have a good response to either bronchodilators or oral steroid. Time. You can, you know, just get them to humidify. You can, of course, give some bit of bronchodilation if there is wheeze. If it'll at least open up. It won't have a dramatic response. You have 2 little kids, 1-year-old, both with wheeze. Nebulize them both. And you'll see one clears up completely. So you can, then I put dramatic response to bronchodilator. I haven't told them that this is asthma. But if I have 2-3 of these dramatic response to bronchodilator, then I will put in a note. This child is having recurrent episodes of chesty coughs. He has dramatic response to bronchodilators. Hence, he is being put on a trial of therapy with inhaled corticosteroids. So that nobody can challenge it, you know. Yes. And if you see, with age, the episodes become less and less severe. You know, like the 3-month and a 3-year-old won't have the same intensity. Yeah? More? Sir? Inhalation. No role of inhaled steroids at all. It is, it's misuse, sir. You know, you say morning, evening, budesonide nebulization, we are just adding cost to that family. It has no role whatsoever. Nebulization is only bronchodilation. Nebulization, in a crew you can use adrenaline. But otherwise, budesonide, even in bronchiolitis, budesonide in wheeze-associated lower respiratory, it has no role. The only way a steroid has any role is in acute severe asthma, oral or injectable, and in bronchial asthma as a preventer or a controller. So if you have to nebulize, it has to be salbutamol, which can be either salbutamol or levosalbutamol. And yes, you can have, you know, the duoline preparation is good, but not continuously. Ipratropium is not all the time. 3 with salbutamol, the 4th can be duoline, like that. Not all of them duoline.
Madam, do you have any role for oral bronchodilators, or you don't want it at all?
No, I do use it because not all children who have, please sit down, sir, have a little wheeze or has a little bit of a cough, and you know that it has a spasmodic element, but you don't want them to buy an inhaler. So that is the time I use a syrup, salbutamol or levosalbutamol. There is no place of any cough syrup in my practice. If any syrup I need to give, it is always a bronchodilator, which less than 6 years I use salbutamol, and more than that I sometimes use terbutaline. But, pardon me, sir? I don't use any theophylline. Theophylline actually has no role as a reliever. Theophylline on a long term can be the retard thing, can be a good preventer. If a child or any asthmatic has been put on the highest percival steroid, LABA, Montelukast, still not working out, then you can use, Derifylline and all. But otherwise, theophylline, terifylline, in my practice has no role at all. If it is a nocturnal cough, and if you are sure it is asthma, why not treat it as asthma with an inhaled corticosteroid? No, but you're preventing, sir. Like if you are saying nocturnal cough as in an asthmatic. So if it's a nocturnal cough in an asthmatic, it is a presentation of asthma. I would want to treat the asthma. So once you put them on inhaled corticosteroid, it automatically comes down. Or if it is a child who is more than 6 years old and he has a nocturnal cough and he is an asthmatic, I would choose formoterol and budesonide, BD. It is going to bronchodilate as well as control the asthma. But I wouldn't use Derifylline. For a minute. For a minute. You have to shake, put it, actuate it, and for a period of a minute in an infant or a toddler. And if it's a big child who can take good breaths, then I say 10 breaths. 10 breaths or a minute. And if you have to do twice, then you have to wait for a minute, because when you are pressing, actuating, you are lowering the temperature very much. If that's the cold freon effect. It goes at -20. So it has to come back to room temperature. That is why we need to use 1 minute in between actuation.
So each actuation you have to remove it and again insert.
You have to wait a minute. So if it is an acute severe, so you're doing 1 minute and then another minute. So I would take it out and shake it and put, because it's layered. So that time it is to prevent the layering. And the 1 minute has already happened. But if you see, sometimes we need to use it twice. So there are certain doctors, suppose it is you're using a salbutamol 2 puffs, because this child, and 2 doesn't mean kach. 2 means given, 1 minute given. Because if you're doing kach, that second with the -20 jet, hardly anything goes in. So you're not delivering the second.
So no need to remove it and then again.
Removing it for the layering. You know, so each step has a physics behind it. Yeah? Start at the moment you think that the child needs. If you think in 1 month, 2 months, would you be sure that this is asthma, needs a trial of therapy? Probably no. You know, you would want to see 2 episodes at least. You know, so classically, like I would say that the youngest that has presented to me with me suspecting asthma very much is 4 months, especially in second siblings. You know, where the parents are also totally conditioned. I mean, say every other month I have a family like this. So presently I have a lot of children less than 1 year also who are on inhaler. They are the second sip, chesty cough, coughing at night, you know, coughing while sucking on the breast. Then the mother says, it's the same kind of cough, doctor. Can't we start please now? Why wait? There the iron is hot. Let's start it. You know? See, Montelukast, I have had no problems, but they say that sometimes it can have mood swings. Or a dentist brings his child to me, and he's a boy with huge, temper tantrums, and he says, my father, who's a doctor, said, stop the Montelukast, maybe because of it, and he's doing very well on asthma. So I was quite okay, your call. I didn't advise. And I think around Diwali, he tripped. And he says that, no, his asthma is now getting out of hand again. And I said, should we restart the Montelukast? Because this was a child on highest permissible budesonide. And we started the Montelukast back, and no temper tantrum issues. But they have cases where they've had some suicidal tendencies, but they say it could be a coincidence. But otherwise, I've had no, and I have about 10% of my asthmatics on Montelukast. So it's not that it has no place, but it has a place much lower than inhaled corticosteroids. Like only if I need to use it, it's never the first one. So I've had this thing, and there are about 2-3 kids who are on it for 2 years. Taking it off and their allergic rhinitis is getting out of control and their asthma is tripping. No, why sir? Because unless and until, see, you have to be clear that does this child have a bacterial infection? If this child has a bacterial infection, your asthmatic can also have a bacterial infection, isn't it? So it shouldn't be that I will never give an antibiotic to my asthmatic child. We cannot be dogmatic. Your asthmatic child might come down with a bacterial chest infection. You have to then give him an antibiotic. But he has a cold, you don't need to rush into it at all. Because most of the time it's a virus. Any more questions? Sure? Okay. It was wonderful actually being here. For me, because there are so many of you so senior, and so many I can make out doing good asthma care, and some, so keen to learn, and some very, very young doctors. So, it can't be more gratifying for a speaker. So thank you very much for taking time out and coming to hear me. Thank you.